Life has a way of surprising you, doesn't it? Just when you think you have it all figured out, a little twist of fate comes along and shows you that the most precious treasures are often found in the most unexpected places. My name is Arthur, and I've learned that sometimes the greatest returns aren't measured in dollars and cents, but in the warmth of human connection. My life for a long time revolved around the rhythm of the stock market and the pursuit of success. As a financial advisor in the city, my days were a blur of meetings, numbers, and careful calculations. I had built a comfortable life, a spacious apartment overlooking the city skyline, a closet full of expensive suits, a reputation for being sharp and successful. But underneath the polished exterior, there was a growing sense of emptiness, a feeling that something essential was missing. My marriage to Eleanor had ended years ago, a casualty of my relentless focus on work. We had drifted apart, two ships passing in the night, until the distance became too vast to bridge. My children were grown, leading their own busy lives, and our interactions were polite but infrequent. I had achieved what the world called success, but I often felt profoundly alone. One crisp autumn afternoon, I found myself walking through a park near my office, trying to clear my head after a particularly frustrating day. A major deal I had been working on for months had fallen through, a significant blow to my pride and my portfolio. I felt defeated, the cold wind mirroring the chill in my heart. I sat on a park bench, watching the leaves tumble around me, feeling sorry for myself. Just then, I heard a hesitant voice. "Excuse me, sir? Do you, do you have any spare change?" I looked up and saw a young woman standing a few feet away. She looked lost. Her clothes were simple, a little too thin for the weather, her hair a tangled mess, but her eyes, despite the weariness in them, were intelligent and held a flicker of defiance that intrigued me. My first instinct was to brush her off, to retreat into my own world of troubles, but something in her gaze, perhaps the quiet dignity that shone through her difficult circumstances, made me pause. "Not having a great day," I muttered, perhaps more curtly than I intended. "I don't really have anything for you." She raised an eyebrow, a surprisingly sharp gesture. "So, just because your day's bad, you get to be rude to other people?" Her bluntness took me aback. It wasn't the usual meek plea. I found myself, to my surprise, smiling slightly. "All right, you've got a point," I admitted. "My apologies. Feel free to sit down if you like." She hesitated for a moment, then, with a shrug that seemed to say, "Why not?" she settled onto the other end of the bench, leaving a respectable space between us. "My name's Clara," she said, her voice quiet but clear. "Arthur," I replied, extending my hand, a gesture that felt strangely formal in the circumstances, but she met it with a firm handshake. "So, what messed up your day, Arthur?" she asked, her tone softer now, conversational. I sighed, the story of the lost deal tumbling out. It felt odd sharing my professional woes with a stranger on a park bench, but Clara listened intently, nodding with a surprising understanding. "Yeah, life throws curveballs," she said when I finished. "But hey, at least you've got a job to go back to tomorrow." I almost laughed, a humorless sound. "True enough. And to top it off, tomorrow I have to go to my ex-wife's engagement party." Clara's eyebrows went up. "Wow, quite a weekend you're having." "Tell me about it," I muttered. "We were together a long time, but, well, life happens, and her family and my business have connections. It's expected I'll be there. A purely social obligation." "Sometimes those social things are the worst," she said, a hint of something sad in her voice. I looked at her, truly looked at her, perhaps for the first time. There was something in her eyes and her quiet composure that didn't quite fit the image of someone down on her luck. "And you, Clara," I ventured, "what brought you to this situation?" She looked down, a faint blush coloring her cheeks despite the grime. "Bad choices, I guess. Fell in with the wrong crowd a while back. Got disconnected from my family. It's been rough. I've been trying to save up, just enough to get a bus ticket, maybe some decent clothes. Go home. But it's not easy." As she spoke, I noticed a certain way she held herself, a quiet intelligence in her answers that sparked an unexpected idea in my mind. It was a wild thought, Completely out of character for me, the cautious, calculating Arthur. But the thought of that engagement party, of facing all those people alone, the pitying glances, the forced conversations, it filled me with dread. And here was this young woman, clearly in need of help, with a dignity and wit that belied her circumstances. Clara, I began, a hint of hesitation in my voice. What if, what if we made a deal? She looked at me, her eyes narrowing slightly with suspicion. A deal? Yes, I said, feeling a strange exhilaration at the sheer absurdity of the idea. I'll, I'll buy you some clothes, get you a place to stay tonight, maybe a salon appointment. In return, you come with me to this engagement party tomorrow night. As my date. Clara stared at me, her eyes wide with astonishment. Are you serious? I nodded, completely serious. Entirely. I could use the company. And you could use a night out. A chance to, well, to feel like yourself again, perhaps. She was quiet for a long moment, weighing the offer, the strangeness of it, as the desperate need. Then slowly a smile spread across her face, a genuine warm smile that transformed her features. You know what, Arthur? She said. Why not? It's crazy, but I accept your deal. The rest of that afternoon was surreal. I took Clara to a respectable department store, watching as she hesitantly chose a simple but elegant dress, a pair of sensible shoes. We went to a salon where her tangled hair was washed and styled, her face cleaned and gently made up. With each step, the transformation was remarkable. The weariness faded, replaced by a quiet radiance. The woman who emerged from the salon was clearly the same, but polished, revealed. She had an innate grace, a natural beauty that had been hidden beneath layers of hardship. The next evening, I picked Clara up from the modest hotel I had booked for her. She looked breathtaking. The simple blue dress was perfect, her hair pulled back in a soft updo, her eyes sparkling with a mixture of nervousness and excitement. You look lovely, Clara, I said, genuinely impressed and a little stunned. She smiled, a little shyly. Thank you, Arthur, for all of this. On the drive to the country club where the party was being held, we talked easily. I learned more about her. She had been a kindergarten teacher before her life took a wrong turn. She was intelligent, funny, and possessed a sharp insight into people that came from living life outside the protective bubble I inhabited. She made me laugh, truly laugh, for the first time in a long time. As we pulled up to the sprawling country club, my old anxieties about the party returned. This was Eleanor's world, a world of old money and polished facades. How would Clara fit in? How would they react? We walked in, and the air felt thick with wealth and expectation. People turned, smiling their polite, practiced smiles. Then across the crowded room I saw her, Eleanor, looking radiant in a silver gown, talking to a group of guests. And beside her, the groom. My heart gave a familiar, uncomfortable clench. Eleanor looked up, her eyes scanning the new arrivals. Her smile was automatic at first, the hostess's greeting. Then her gaze landed on Clara. Her eyes widened. Her smile faltered, replaced by an expression of sheer, stunned disbelief. Arthur? She said, her voice ringing out across the sudden hush that seemed to fall over the people nearest us. Is that Clara? My God, Clara, is that really you? Before I could even process what was happening, Eleanor was making her way towards us, her new fiancé trailing behind her, looking utterly bewildered. When she reached us, she didn't look at me. Her eyes were fixed on Clara, and hers filled with tears. Clara! Oh, Clara! Eleanor cried, reaching out and pulling Clara into a tight embrace, holding her as if she would never let go. Where have you been? We've been so worried. We've looked everywhere. Clara, equally stunned, returned the embrace, tears streaming down her own face. Eleanor, I can't believe it's you. I stood there completely bewildered as other people from Eleanor's family, guests who seemed to know Clara, gathered around, exclamations of surprise and relief filling the air. It was chaos, but a joyous, emotional chaos. It took a few minutes for me to piece it all together. Clara wasn't just a stranger I had met in the park. She was Eleanor's younger sister. They had been estranged for 10 years, ever since Clara had left home after a difficult period in her life. losing touch with her family completely. They had searched for her, worried, heartbroken, never knowing where she was or if she was safe, and I, in my self-pity and dread of a party, had unknowingly brought their lost sister back to them. The rest of the evening felt less like an engagement party and more like a miracle reunion. Clara was welcomed back with open arms. Her parents were there, overcome with emotion, hugging their daughter, tears streaming down their faces. The cold, calculating world of finance and social obligation faded into the background, replaced by the raw, beautiful emotion of a family made whole again. Eleanor's fiancé, David, a kind and steady man, came over, shaking my hand warmly. "Arthur, I don't know what to say. This is incredible. Eleanor has talked about Clara for years. She never gave up hope." Eleanor came back to my side, her eyes still shining with happy tears. She looked at me differently now, not as her ex-husband, but as the man who had brought her greatest wish to life. "Arthur," she said softly, "thank you. I, I don't know how you found her or why you brought her, but thank you. This means everything to us." I shrugged, still a little stunned myself. It was an unexpected turn, a lucky coincidence. Eleanor's father, a prominent businessman I had known for years, a man who had always treated me with a certain cool formality, came over, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Coincidence, Arthur? I don't think so. Some things are meant to be. You've done something truly remarkable tonight, son. You've given us back our Clara. We are all in your debt." Throughout the evening, I watched Clara with her family. The weariness was gone, replaced by a radiant joy. She laughed, she cried, she hugged them tightly. She seemed to bloom before my eyes, like a flower finally finding the sun. Later, Clara found me near the edge of the dance floor, taking a quiet moment to herself. Her eyes were still sparkling. "Arthur," she said, her voice full of emotion, "I still can't believe this is happening. You, you changed everything. You brought me home." I smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile. "No, Clara," I said, "you changed everything. You reminded me of what really matters, of what's truly valuable." She smiled back, and then to my surprise, she reached out and hugged me tightly. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for giving me a second chance." In that moment, I realized she was right. She had a second chance at her family, at rebuilding her life. And I had a second chance too. A chance to look beyond the numbers and the deals, to focus on the human connections I had neglected for so long. A chance to redefine what success truly meant. As the party wound down, I said my goodbyes. Eleanor and David, radiating happiness. Clara's parents, their faces etched with gratitude, and Clara herself standing with her sister, their arms linked, a picture of rediscovered happiness. "So," I said to Clara, "what's next for you?" Her smile was full of hope. "My family, they want me to come home. They want to help me get back on my feet. Maybe even, maybe even go back to teaching." "That's wonderful, Clara," I said, feeling a mixture of joy for her and a pang of something else. A quiet loneliness returning now that the whirlwind was over. "You deserve it, this new chance." She squeezed my hand gently. "And you, Arthur, what will you do now?" I paused, looking out at the city lights in the distance, the city where my life had been so focused on building wealth. "I think," I said, a sense of clarity settling over me, "I think I need to reassess some things. Maybe it's time to focus less on the business and more on the people." "Sounds like a good plan," she said, her smile warm and encouraging. On the drive home, the city lights seemed different. The missed deal from the day before felt utterly insignificant. What had started as a frustrating day, a dreaded social obligation, had turned into a profound lesson, a chance for redemption, and the privilege of witnessing a family reunited. I had reached out a hand to a stranger, and in doing so, had unexpectedly brought light and healing to so many lives, including my own. I realized that true wealth wasn't in the stock market reports or the size of my portfolio. It was in the connections we make, the kindness we offer, the lives we touch. Clara, with her quiet strength and resilient spirit, had reminded me of that simple, vital truth. I didn't know what the future held. Changing old habits, shifting my focus after so many years wouldn't be easy. But for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of purpose that went beyond the numbers. I had a second chance, not just at making amends for the past, but at living a life that was richer, more meaningful. And who knew? Maybe, just maybe, this unexpected detour was leading me exactly where I needed to be all along. With a quiet smile, I drove towards the dawn, ready to see what the new day and this new perspective would bring.